Hey everyone, my name is Evan Freiberger, and today we're going to be talking about some interesting weather that is coming into the United States. We've got a couple of things to talk about. We've got some severe weather. It's going to try to return, and also we got a little bit of a low pressure system that is off of the East Coast that we've got to watch. I don't think the impact's going to be too crazy, but it's something to keep in mind. Maybe a little bit of rain, maybe some gustier winds, some spotty power outages possible, but overall this week, I think the main story is the fact that heat is returning, but we'll talk about all of them just in case you care about one of those things more than the other. So let's go ahead and get right into it. All right, as you can see just off of the coast down here, off of the East Coast, we have a low pressure system that is going to try to form into something. This will most likely be a tropical depression. It doesn't really have a whole lot of time out there to really strengthen. There's going to be a little bit of wind shear that's going to keep this thing minimal as it tries to approach land. And plus, it's not looking that strong, but it could bring some impacts, and we'll go over that. We got that little low pressure system over there, and also kind of pushing this forward. You can see that eventually we're going to have this storm kind of try to make landfall there near South Carolina, North Carolina, and then also keep your eye on the northern part if you live in the northern plains, as we're about to see a storm try to push in some thunderstorms out there. You can see we can have a line of storms from North to South Dakota down into Nebraska, even some spotty storms down there near Kansas going into Oklahoma. Some of these might be severe here and there. Our biggest chance for severe weather is probably going to be in the northern portion of this, but maybe a small chance for some thunderstorms and spotty rain out there going further south, all the way down into the panhandle of Oklahoma and Texas. And then, as you can see over here on the East Coast, this storm is already starting to push into land as we are approaching Wednesday. And yeah, I mean, some rain is there on the northern side, but it's really not that much. This isn't going to be something that is going to cause super widespread flooding, but we got to watch out for some spotty bits of flooding there. Maybe a small tornado risk, but I'm not overly convinced at that point. We are a little bit far out from this happening. This is Wednesday, so things will definitely change as we get closer. But pushing this even further, you can see this system lifts off to the north. It kind of gets deflected, it seems like, off the United States. It's like the United States has a baseball bat just hit that storm out of our country and pushed it into Canada. So I guess Canada is the outfielder catching that. And we got this low pressure system that's going to kind of meander on the East Coast, bring some rain, maybe some thunderstorms over there, and then eventually going into Friday, we could see some more severe weather overnight, going into the morning hours of Friday, and then that could push down a little bit into Iowa a little bit, and then after that we could have another system on the backside of that. So a lot of things that are kind of in the early stages of monitoring here, but some severe weather is definitely going to be possible. But in terms of anything that's going to be like super tornadic or impactful, at least with this first system, we'll have to find out. Not quite in the range of the short-term models. Once we get there, we'll have a better understanding of where the biggest area of severe weather will be. All right, now we're going to focus a little bit more on this system that is off of the East Coast near South and North Carolina. As you can see, we just saw the Euro develop this into something, and the National Hurricane is also saying that this thing has a chance to form, and in fact, a non-tropical area of low pressure is expected to form in the next day or so along a frontal boundary, and you can see formation over the next 48 hours on the bottom side of this little text screen here. You can see that there is a 40% chance of it forming over the next 2 days and a 50% chance of forming over the next 7 days. So, we're not 100% possible that this is going to form into something, but bottom line is the impacts won't really change, whether this thing is a tropical depression or just a low pressure system. We're expecting some rain, we're expecting some wind, and maybe some spotty power outages. But yeah, now we're going to look at a couple of different models here to kind of see, what their opinions are on where the storm goes and then makes landfall, or if it even forms at all. And this is the Euro model. And pushing this forward, you can see that this thing does start to swirl, and then eventually we get a little bit of a L out there that's a low pressure system. You can see the greens, oranges indicating some heavier rain. They're on the border of South Carolina and North Carolina. Pushing this forward even more, you can see that tracks inland, bringing some thunderstorms all the way from South Carolina up into Virginia, Maryland, maybe even Delaware. there as well as we go into Tuesday. And by the way, this thing would technically make landfall early morning Tuesday if the Euro is correct here. This tracks off to the north and then brings some scattered rain and showers. Some of these might be thunderstorms going into Wednesday, and then going into Thursday, you can see that still we're getting some showers and thunderstorms right up the East Coast there as this thing completely dissipates, and kind of just a little bit of a stalled frontal boundary here, still trying to produce some showers. None of these will really be severe there in Virginia. Now we're looking at the GFS, which is another model. The Euro model is obviously the European model, and the GFS is the American model. So we're going to be seeing how these differ in opinion. You can see the GFS also tries to form this maybe into a tropical storm, tropical depression. So the GFS is a little bit more bullish on intensity. We would see some more spotty power outages, but still not super widespread where this thing makes landfall. Looks like the GFS is saying, again, kind of agreeing with the Euro there, that somewhere in between the border of North Carolina and South Carolina, bringing rain widespread going. This would be Monday morning here on the GFS. And yeah, I mean, that could bring a little bit more wind, but again, this would be a weak tropical storm at most and a stronger tropical depression at best, which there really isn't much difference between there. Some winds between 30 to 40 miles per hour are going to be possible. We'll be looking at the winds here after this just to kind of give you a depiction of what that will look like in which areas. But yeah, so the GFS kind of says the same thing going into Tuesday, bringing that rain further up north, and then going into Wednesday, some rain and showers there on the eastern coast over there in their parts of New Jersey and New York. But the interesting thing, the GFS brings us a lot further north, so there wouldn't really be lingering showers too much in like the areas like Virginia, Maryland for too long. So a little bit of a difference after landfall there. All right, now we're going to be looking at the wind gusts, and as you can see, along the coast, it's going to be a little bit gusty out there, 20 to 30 mile per hour winds before this thing even forms. And then as it starts to form, we could get 40 mile per hour wind gusts out of this storm. So this is the maximum potential here of winds. This isn't going to be what it is all the time. Just every now and then you'll see a gust of up to potentially this high. And eventually, this thing comes into land going into Monday morning and Tuesday, bringing those winds further inland, maybe in some higher elevations here in South Carolina. Also going into North Carolina, could get up into 40 mile per hour wind gusts. And then as this thing works its way inland, still some gustier condition there off the coast on Tuesday morning, still continuing to push up into the United States. Virginia maybe getting in on some 30 mile per hour wind gusts. Look up there near Delaware. Let me bring this back one frame. Near Delaware, we are seeing 36 to 38, maybe even 35 mile per hour wind gusts off of the coast. So, and also still in North Carolina, still some potential there for some gustier winds up to 30 to 37 mile per hour winds, as that on Wednesday. This would be Wednesday or Tuesday, sorry, afternoon there, and then pushing into Wednesday morning. You see those winds continue to gust up there near New Jersey and also New York, and then after that, this thing moves out, and we're not really seeing too much wind after that. In terms of rainfall over the next couple of days, you can see, we have some 24-hour rainfall amounts here of up to 4 inches of rain. Could be a little bit higher, could be a little bit lower. Again, rainfall rates are, our rainfall amounts are kind of hard to pin down, and the models get them wrong all the time. But overall, I think, even if you give it some wiggle room in either direction, we're not really looking at that much rain. But, widespread 1 to 2 inches, all going all the way into North Carolina, northern North Carolina. And this would be by Tuesday, morning here. And then pushing this even further, you can see those heavier rainfall amounts start to track up to the north into northern North Carolina, southern Virginia. And that continues to track up to the north, bringing potentially, 2 to 2.7 inches, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less there in Virginia. And then you can see that rainfall just kind of lingers, and then kind of dissipates and becomes, a non-concern for anybody as we get into Sunday. So, again, not a huge storm or a big problem by any means, but definitely something to keep an eye on. In terms of the severe weather potential, a little bit further north, you can see as we go into like Monday, we could have some storms up there in North Dakota move into Minnesota. Not really expecting too much of a severe threat with that, but as we go into Tuesday, we might have a little bit more of a line there for South Dakota going into Nebraska. That would be Monday evening, and then going into Tuesday morning kind of clears out, and then going into Wednesday, Wednesday morning could have a line of storms form. Some of these might be severe as well. But again, we're not expecting anything too dangerous, but right now, but things can change as we get a little bit closer. Definitely has a chance of bringing some thunderstorms and severe weather as that pushes through. And then, yeah, it should clear out for a while. And then as we get into like Thursday, Friday, we could see storms return going into, Friday morning, Friday afternoon, and then maybe some more later on. But again, we're getting really far out in the range, but, just some severe weather is definitely going to be possible up here further north. Coming down a little bit further south, where we're also expecting some thunderstorms to develop, you can tell as we get into like Monday night into, Tuesday morning, might have some thunderstorms out there for like Kansas going into the panhandle of Oklahoma and Texas. And then as we get a little bit further in time, you can see we have a little bit more of a widespread severe weather threat here. But again, it's going to be either thunderstorms or severe weather. There's not a whole lot of kinematics here that would be super favorable, but some of these might try to produce not tornadoes, but severe weather. So it's something to keep an eye on. But that's about Wednesday after or Wednesday morning. You might see some, widespread severe weather of a marginal caliber Wednesday morning, and then going into Thursday, we do have some more storms kind of developing, but they're way up in the north. We already went over that, and then going into Saturday, we could have another round there. But again, Saturday's pretty far away. A lot of this will change, but as you can see, a wider swath here of potential storms or severe weather is going to be possible for a lot of people in the middle of the United States. All right, now we're going to look at the temperatures for the United States, and going into tomorrow, you can see that we are going to have a lot more widespread heat again. You guys are kind of already used to this by now, so it's not going to come as too much of a hindrance. Luckily, we are getting into the cooler portions of the year, so even when it heats up in comparison to normal, it's not going to be like 100-degree temperatures anymore, but still widespread 80s in the Ohio Valley, the northern plains, and the Ozarks, going down to the southern plains, even flirting with some spots in Texas of up to 100. West Coast could see some hot temperatures there as well, so a big warm-up is definitely on the way for Sunday. And then moving into Monday, you can see that sticks around for a little bit, still cooler in the west, warmer in the central portions of the United States, and even in the northeast as well. I mean, 80 degrees up there in Maine is pretty impressive, even 80 degrees up there in Canada. So it's not just us that's getting this heat, but yeah, going into Tuesday afternoon, you can see the heat sticks around. Going into Thursday, it looks like we might get some cooler temperatures, but not really. I mean, Tuesday, Thursday, going into Wednesday, everything, it's just those 80s are going to hold for a lot of folks. Maybe a little bit of a cool down there in the northeast going into Saturday. But yeah, I mean, the main story is, a long stretch. This is almost kind of like a fall heat wave here, but, I wouldn't go as far as to say that because it's still going to be kind of mild. I think heat waves are best to reserve for like that extreme heat. Definitely some hotter temperatures out there, but nothing to really freak out about. And yeah, that's going to be about it for my forecast. Thank you for watching. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and I will see you guys on the next video.